Welcome to the Opinionated Benchwarmers Podcast, episode 190. Your Opinionated Benchwarmers are back to do what we do best, and that's discuss sports. Got my brother Ramon in here with me. What's up, brother? How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. Always good to have an opportunity, of course, run it. Do what always say, what we like to do, what we love to do, which is talk sports. It's still got enough action going right now. Kind of almost dreading that we're gonna be soon, kind of getting to that sports area in time where the sports fans don't like it at all because it's that real dead period. But we still got enough juice right now to kind of talking and running. So. I'm not gonna hold it, but like I said, man, we always figuring out how we doing, man. How you doing on your end?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling blessed. We was talking about the vacation. Just got back from vacation, so feeling recharged, ready to get to work. Happy to be back doing what we do, and recording this podcast. So, man, ready to talk, ready to run it with you, man. Shout out to Los. He'll be back. He got a lot of transition stuff going on, so he'll hopefully be back consistently, going forward. But shout out to him as always, man. Like I always say, shout out to the first time listeners and the old listeners. Make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you like to listen to your podcast at. Just search Opinionated Benchwarmers, subscribe to the podcast, and share with a friend, like I always say. And then make sure that you are locked into our YouTube as well. Just search Opinionated Benchwarmers, subscribe to that, hit the bell, be notified when we drop this wonderful content. Uh, at least every other week, if not every week. But Ramon, man, the playoffs are heating up. We have the conference finals are set. As promised, we will dissect this thing. As we record this today, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Thunder already had game one, which we know the Thunder didn't have too much trouble, man. 114 to 88 against the Timberwolves. I know that we're cheating because we're gonna give our predictions of how we think this thing is gonna go. But Ramon, man, you have any opening thoughts on what you think about this series and what we probably could expect going forward?
Yeah, honestly, my thoughts are pretty much the same as I had going into the series as what was seen in game one. I don't necessarily, I'm not going to say that, hey, this is going to be a quick series and they're going to take them out soon. I don't overreact to a game one. But I just think that in this matchup, OKC is a team that to me can play every style of basketball really at this point. They can play small if you want to play small, they can play big if you want to play big. They got the type of team that can switch the 1 through 4 or even 1 through 5 at times. If you want to play with a little bit of pace, they can play with pace and get in transition. If you want to, of course, slow it down, they can do that as well too. And I really look at them as to me a team ultimately that I think at this point is the best defensive team that is left in the playoffs. And I think that that's ultimately what makes me favor them over the Timberwolves. I think that when you look at their defense, and with their defense, as I was saying, being versatile, being able to play different styles, I just think that it's going to be a tough series and a tough mountain for the Minnesota Timberwolves to be able to overcome. I think that when you look at it, talking high level, you have two bona fide superstars in this series in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who of course has been named as the MVP, well deserved there. And of course, you have Ant on the other side. So those guys are going to kind of go back and forward and kind of cancel each other out to a degree. But I just think that the sum of all the parts with OKC, they just come at you in waves and they just throw, honestly, defenders at you in waves. Like guys just come off the bench and still can just come and be readily, come and play and, throw a lot of guys at Ant. They can throw guys at Julius Randle. So for me, and just looking high level, I don't want to unpack it all too much because I know we got to have a little bit of dialogue on it. But I honestly have favored OKC coming into this series, and that game one didn't change my mind.
Yeah, I agree. I walk into this series. I think that you probably with the Thunder's looking at the next NBA champions. I mean, they don't have any weaknesses. You went through that. I loved everything about your initial thoughts. My thing is, and I knew it became apparent to me, defensive wise as they are to piggyback off that. But I think that when you look at a Thunder team that is able to execute on turnovers, you don't have a shot. When you're looking at the Timberwolves gave up 31 points just strictly off turnovers. And the Thunder had 12 points on the fast break. Guess how many points that the Wolves had? None. So it's like that's the ball game right there in a sense. And I think that no matter how much, because the first half was pretty close, neck and neck, and then the second half they just exploded because the Timberwolves showed their youth and make boneheaded plays, make boneheaded passes, and the Thunder will make you pay. They did that to the Nuggets. They've done that to every team so far this year, and that's what they went off of, and that's how you give the game to them. But I look at the Timberwolves, just their path. They beat our Lakers, which was a flawed roster. I think they beat the Nuggets. I think
Well, they
that
beat
when
the
you look at,
Warriors. Beat the Warriors.
I'm sorry, not
Talking
the
about the
Warriors.
Wolves.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that. Lakers, but then you beat the Lakers, you beat the Warriors. I really feel like they had an easy path so far. I don't think that either one of those teams could have beat, especially when Steph went down, and then with us obviously not having a big man and making Gobert look like 2001 Shaquille O'Neal.
You're right.
But this is a team with the Thunder where you have to play almost a perfect game to beat them. And like you said, their depth and their defensive prowess is evident, and I just think it's overpowered. So unlike you, I want to say this. I do think that because of how special Anthony Edwards is and can be and how competitive he is, I do feel like he can get them a game or two. But I do think that this is going to be a quick series. I don't think that the Wolves can handle the Thunder here.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree with you there, for all the points that you said. And even also too, when we talk about OKC's defense, there's not really any major thing that they give up. One of the things that Minnesota lived and died with, and really didn't die against us, obviously they lived, was the 3-point shot. They shot really lights out within that particular series. And, if you really paid attention to it in game one, Julius Randle still played well. Julius Randle actually shot the ball well from three, but you look at a guy in Nas Reed that went 0 for 8 from the field. You look at Nickeil Alexander-Walker that went 1 for 9 from the field. You look at Dante DiVincenzo that went 3 for 12 from the field. You look at these guys that just honestly that was shooting lights out a little bit earlier in the playoffs, a little bit more consistent, that just did not play well, did not shoot the ball well. And it's not just about them having a bad game. Honestly, if you looked at OKC's defense, it can smother you at times. Like it can truly smother you. And they are a team that's locked together defensively as a unit. They are on a string together defensively as a unit. Like you talked about even some of the turnovers that are forced, it's something serious definitely brewing in Oklahoma City right now. And so I think that, obviously you do have to me two pretty good head coaches, two guys that are make good adjustments. So I do think that Minnesota will make some adjustments. Um, I don't really see how the presence of Rudy Gobert really impacts this series at all.
No,
Yeah, so I don't really see
not at all. I
that.
mean, he had three rebounds in the first half, and he ended the game with three rebounds.
Yeah,
So I mean, with Chet's length and height and Harvestein,
that's,
obviously, it does impose a problem for him. But what I wanted to talk to you about too is that you look at, yeah, Shea has had his 30 points, and we've seen this, Ramon, right, with James Harden and the likes of those that score a lot of points, but they shoot at least 16 free throws a game, if not, if not around that somewhat. Do you respect him as a playoff merchant? Because these are my initial thoughts about Shea. Congratulations for him winning the MVP. I think it was well deserved, even
mhm.
though I do feel as though Jokic really had a real point just statistically for that award. But when I look at Shea, I don't he's not the most athletic guy. He kind of is very, very similar to Harden, but I think Harden was a better shooter, obviously is a better shooter, obviously. But they can get to their spots and they are good at finessing into those foul shots. Do your thoughts remain there on where Shea, as far as where you rank him among greatness? I know it's very young in this, and he has to do what he did this season for maybe a couple more seasons before we can put him in some type of rank him amongst the greats. But so far, does he remind you of kind of in comparison to Harden a little bit in his game in that way?
Yeah, I think the main thing, like you said, in comparison to Harden is what he's known as the free throw merchant, as you were saying and alluding to. I think that if you watch his game and some of his game. actually some of his moves, not the way that he attacks the basket and not the way that he draws fouls, but you can see even too some of the shades of Kobe every now and then if you really look at his game. And I want to encourage you to go and look at a little bit of his film.
I'm about
Um,
to check that out.
yeah, but I think that ultimately, I think that people are maybe trying to get ahead of it. I saw something and this might have been from a Thunder account, so it might have been one of those things that is self-explanatory. But they tried to say that once Shea wins this championship this year, they're going ahead and declaring that, saying that he'll be a top 15 player of all time. And I'm like, wait, pump the brakes. This guy is talented, but he's also operating in a league that, if we're honest, the statistics right now are ballooning beyond what we really were accustomed to seeing. Like these stats that people have are I don't want to call them empty stats, but they're inflated stats. It's inflation basically statistically in the league right now. And so when I look at Shea, I respect his game. I think that he's a top five player right now in this league. Obviously, he won the MVP. I don't know if that makes him top two, top three, or whatever in the league at this point. But I think that, to your point, he's going to have to continue to show this. He's going to have to, first of all, you got to get through this series. You got to outplay Anthony Edwards in this series and make it to the finals and win. But we are, looking at a player. Is he about what I would say by about 26, 26, 27 now?
Yeah,
26?
yeah, he is 20. Let me see. You can keep talking. I'll get
Yeah, I
that
want to say
information for
I
you.
want to say Shea is about 26, 27
Yeah,
ish or somewhere
26. You hit it, hit
26.
the nail on the head. 26.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're looking at a guy that's, definitely like stepping into basically his prime or into his prime years. We're seeing him have, some of the best efficiency numbers that we've seen. Some of his efficiency numbers even rival some of MJ's really good years and seasons. But I do just think that the league is different at this point, and he does capitalize a lot on being a free throw merchant. But the one thing that I will say with that, I don't love that style of play. But part of it is a little bit of skill to that too. Like your ability to get guys off balance, your ability to get guys in those positions where they are fouling you. Do I think that he plays it up a little bit? Like, of course, we used to talk about Harden playing it up too. But I think that that's still a level of craftiness that is still some skill that's there too with that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I look at his last game. Maybe it is a small sample size, but he went 10 for 27, 31 points, and he shot 14 free throws. He went 11 for 14. So when you break it down in that way, you like you said, there's a lot of inflated stats. And when I look at I hadn't done the research. I mean, listeners do the research, correct us in the comments. But from if you look at his entire season and what he's done this year and what he's averaged and with his free throws, he's probably averaging at least about 8, 10 free throws a game. So I don't know. I don't know. I do think that it's a crap. I'm not trying to take anything away from Shea, but that specialness, like you say, he's top five in the league. Like, all right, let's put Tatum, non-injured Tatum, and Shea. Who you taking? Tatum.
Yeah.
Put Shea and Giannis. Who you taking? Giannis.
hmm
So you take Jalen Brown and Shea. Who you taking? I
I'm
mean,
taking it. I'm
I
taking
don't
Shea.
know. I mean,
I'm taking Shea.
I don't know. It ain't easy though.
Yeah,
You might take Shea. You might start
I'm gonna take
taking him
Shea.
there. You put him against Jokic. I'm taking Jokic. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to take away somebody averaging 30 points in the league because that's not easy to do. But I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about how I feel about his game. I just looking at his game, I don't think he's the most special player. That just those
hmm
specialness that those players that I said, I think he lacks that, and that's what makes him a weird superstar to me. Because I look even James Harden, like I never respected people saying, "Oh, he's a free throw merchant," because I was like, man, that dude is special as far as offensively and his ability. And you even saw it in the playoffs this year. And for him to get to his spots, for him to be able to make people around him better, as well as the way that he shoots the ball. He's top five all time in 3 points shots made. Like there's a
Do it, man.
specialness in Harden's game. Even West, what is he?
No, yeah, no, like you're
What
saying
is he
top five, I think he's number two, right behind Steph.
say? Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, I don't know. I don't see the specialness in Shay's game. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how to articulate it correctly, but you get what I'm
I think.
saying?
Yeah, I think you got to continue to watch it over the stretch of the playoffs, though. I think that he's going to have the opportunity to make people believers. Now he's on the biggest stage, and right now at this particular point, the old guard is no longer there. So it's nothing but the young stars really at this point. And so he has that opportunity to say, among these guys, I'm the guy. And so if he goes out there and proves it,
Luca or Shea.
Luca.
So I don't know. Is he top five? I mean, I guess currently in.
So
I don't know if he's top five.
okay, so
'Cause I just
Jokic,
almost named yeah, Jokic, Giannis, Tatum,
Luca.
Luca.
That's the only four I comfortably take over Shea.
Okay.
And Luca, he has to
You wouldn't
become
even
better
put
defensively.
What about Anthony Edwards? I mean, I guess that remains that the verdict's still out.
Yeah, I'm not taking Ant just yet over Shea. I think that I think that
Okay.
to your point, Ant has more of that wow factor that you're talking about that like pops off the screen. Um,
Yeah.
but the thing about it is as well too is that with Shea, and these are two different players, two different styles, but is Shea
Right.
the
Right.
Tim
Right.
Duncan effect, where Tim Duncan was
Right.
mundane. He didn't pop off the screen, but he was very well a superstar. And so I think that even with Shea, even though he might not have that Edwards type pop, he's a superstar. And at this point, currently, I would still take him over Anthony Edwards.
I ride with you. There's a couple players that's injured that I would take over him too, but they're injured, so it's not worth mentioning. I guess I will take him just looking at the field. I would take him probably. I think top five right now currently would be where you have him at. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see. Maybe I'll be walking my words back at the end of this series. But like you said, this was a good opportunity for him. As you flip over to the Timberwolves side, Anthony Edwards dropped 18 last night. So I mean, obviously the Wolves is gonna need more from him. And it's just one game, so we'll see. But coming off rest, I would expect more from Anthony Edwards coming out that game. I know, I'm talking about both sides of my
Yeah,
mouth because I was just trying to put him ahead of Shea. But the reality of the fact remains that they're
yeah,
going to have a better performance from Anthony Edwards if they expect to do
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is he has to be more aggressive. Honestly, he took 13 shots. 13 shots is not going to be enough. When you're going against this team, when you even seeing Shea, of course, taking 27 of them things, Anthony Edwards has to be in
Yeah.
the upward teens into the 20s as well too. Like he has to at least be giving you 18 shots a game, at least 18. If not, bumping that up into the low 20s, even mid 20s. Like that's what he has to do right now because also too, and like we saying with the Thunder, they so sound defensively that these role players they're not gonna really get off like that. Like Anthony Edwards has to be a superstar, and he's just gonna have to make it happen, within this series. Now I do know that he went down temporarily with the ankle situation, so he missed a little bit of time in the game. So we know that that hampered him some, but he got to be more aggressive.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if Julius is gonna give you 28, you gotta come with it as Anthony Edwards because that's probably more than you will get from him in the series in general.
Yeah,
So when you get 28 from Julius, we know he's capable of doing it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm
yeah.
just saying consistently when you get a game like that, when you get Julius' best game like that, you gotta compliment that because like you said, I mean, it's either him, Jaden McDaniels is in the conversation, but he's very inconsistent. He started off on fire in the game and then you didn't hear from him for the rest of the game. So you just need more. And Anthony Edwards knows that he's competitive. I expect a better performance. But one thing before we wrap this series up, man, you got to give your games, bro. You said the Thunder would win, but how many games you think they're gonna win in?
I'm gonna go ahead and say Thunder in six. Yeah, I'm gonna say Thunder in six.
Okay, I'm gonna go Thunder in five. I think that they're gonna probably I think they probably gonna take this next game in OKC, and I feel like they're gonna get one in Minnesota, and then I think that's gonna be over from there. But yeah, I'll take the Thunder in five. So we'll see
I
how
can
that
see it.
goes. Another one, East Conference opening up today. We got the Knicks and the Pacers, which surprisingly I'm quite excited about this more than the Western Conference Finals. For once, the Eastern Conference they got them one. The Indiana Pacers and the Knicks. I think that the Indiana Pacers surprised. I don't know if a lot of people. I know they surprised me. I didn't expect them to be at this point where they are in the season, being in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Knicks, and then the Knicks being there surprised me as well. Obviously, Jason Tatum had a lot injury going down, had a lot to do with that. But these are two teams that are scrappy. These are two teams that are competitive. I'm really looking forward to this chess match as well between the coaches.
Yeah, I think that that's a good starting point, honestly, because I think that you have two excellent coaches, two proven guys. Obviously, we know Tibbs' resume and what he's done over the years. We know really what he was to that Boston Celtics team that was able to win a championship that Doc Rivers, of course, is able to take credit for. We know what Tibbs did with that group. We know what he did in his time in Chicago. And of course, obviously, with the Knicks over the last few years, always going to be a tough team defensively. That's its Tibbs mentality. Now sometimes he plays his guys a little bit too much and too long,
Run
and
them into the
he
ground.
run them into the ground. But that's gonna always be Tibbs. And then Rick Carlisle, just been a great coach for so many years. Obviously we've seen throughout his years, and people thought that maybe he was even going to be done after his Dallas run. But he's found another life, there in Indiana, and has those guys rolling. And honestly, when you look at this series, like you said, it's exciting. Like this, it would not surprise me if this series goes 7 games, which is honestly when we get to predictions where I'm a predict it going in 7 games. Because you look at two teams, obviously people had their eyes maybe on the Knicks, coming into the season. We know what Jalen Brunson, we know who he is at this point. Obviously them going and getting Karl Anthony Towns to be kind of their number two option over there. We know what Bridges represents, even them being able to bring him off the bench, of course, at times, and then what they already had in OG, Anunoby, and just all the guys that they have over there. So we kind of knew the Knicks, and we felt that the Knicks were a top three team in the East coming into the year. I think that was pretty much consistent. With the Pacers, I think what the shocking thing is that the Pacers started off the year so bad, and so what happened is people lost attention of the Pacers because they started off the year so bad, but they started to climb the standings as the year went on. I think that I was even seeing something or hearing something that since the beginning of the year, so since, January 1 or whatever, I think that they had like a 70 percent win percentage, which would have put them, if they had that over the entire course of the season, would have put them even probably as the 2 or 3 seed or whatever. So, you are looking at a team that's been playing good basketball for a while. The Pacers to me are a team that likes to play more to their name and play with a little bit more pace. They like to get up and down the floor, which is what, I mean, Haliburton, that's what he thrives in. I think that honestly, this has been also a playoff run for him. That's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna show you since y'all want to say that I'm the most overrated player in the league.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that it's a lot. There's a lot that we can unpack with this series, man.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the Pacers. It's been a team effort so far in the playoffs. They got six players averaging double figures in these playoffs. It's not just P. You would expect Siakam. If I wasn't looking at anything, and I just woke up today and I saw, you told me who was matched up in the playoffs, I probably would have said Siakam is averaging 27, 25 points. You got six people averaging double figures, which is a collective team effort. And like you said, Rick Carlisle has put this team in a position. He knows what his personnel is, and he's put them in position to not play in the half court. Their strength is fast break points and getting out in space, playing defense, and getting it up the floor. And they've proven that to be very, 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 very efficient here. Now, the Knicks, when I look at the Knicks, I think that what the Knicks has so much potential. When you look at Mikal Bridges and you look at their wings, OG and Anunoby, they need more from them. They need more consistency from them. And that's what scares me going into this series. And that's why I honestly, people may be surprised. I honestly have the Pacers having a slight edge over the Knicks because of that. I think that the Pacers knows exactly who they are as a team. And I think that's the advantage in the playoffs in general, is just knowing your identity. I don't really per se think the Knicks know their identity because Jalen Brunson saves them a lot. He's a talent on offense and scores, and he's clutch. But then they don't know what they're going to get out of their wings from night to night. And OG and Anunoby, if OG and Mikal has a consistent series, then Knicks probably will run away with it. But I just don't have any faith with them. I think I've seen enough, and we've seen enough to know that they're not going to be consistent. OG may give you 20 points one night, and then he gives you 8 the next. So they're
Yeah,
gonna need those guys to show up in this series. If not,
yeah.
then they don't have a shot because it's not gonna be enough with Cat and Bronson.
Yeah, yeah. Now, one thing I will say is that, throughout the course of the season, and we know regular season is different, Cat definitely did. He torched the Pacers throughout the course of the season. I want to say He went for 30 and 12, basically, is what he averaged against them. So, it's going to be important to see what that looks like, what that matchup looks like. I think that what also, too, and looking at the other side, I think what the Pacers pose that's interesting is that, of course, I know that, the Knicks play the two bigs at times and playing Cat and playing Mitchell Robinson as well, too. But you face a Pacers team that can bring those bigs out, a Pacers team that can play that 5 out style and that can bring Mitchell Robinson from being that rim protector. And if Mitchell Robinson isn't protecting the rim, what is his true value?
Why is he out there?
Right.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think that that's going to be an interesting thing and kind of a little bit of chess back and forward of, can they continue to draw him out? We even know what Miles Turner can do, with stretching the floor and, shooting the three ball and all that. So I think it's going to be just very interesting. And it's crazy also too of just the off topic, off color thing that the whole was it WrestleMania that
Yeah,
happened in the off
yeah.
season where
Right.
with Brunson and
Yeah,
yeah.
that's weird. That's crazy. You can't make it up, right?
Right, right. So you can't make it
But
up. It's almost like people were saying that the script is being written or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, I'm like I like watching Brunson play. Just how twitchy he is, and he's not the quickest. He's not the most athletic, but he knows how to get to his spots, and he is hard. He's a handful on offense. So I think if they able to get a strong effort from him, and if Cat's able to average 30 points in this series, then I mean I'll go there. But as we make our predictions, man, where you going? Well, we heard you going in seven. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say seven, and I'm gonna go Pacers. That's crazy. I don't feel
yeah,
good about it,
yeah, that
but I
is.
mean, I just think that they just are clicking at the right time right now.
This is one that is such a tough one for me. I know that, of course, last year they matched up, I think, in the conference semifinals, and it went seven. The Pacers actually last year went into New York and won a game seven on the Knicks home floor. I do know that the Knicks had some injuries and stuff like that too for Knicks fans that may get upset with hearing that. They like we had this person out and that person out. Oh man, I'm going back and forth. I'm trying to buy a little bit of time here, but I'm gonna ultimately say that the guy in Jalen Brunson will be able to get it done and close it out. I'm gonna say Knicks in seven, but I don't sit here comfortable either. We talked about the other
Mhm.
series. I'm very comfortable and confident in saying OKC in that series. In
Yeah,
this series, I literally could see it going either way, and I know that that may seem like the
yeah.
cop out type answer, but that's where I am.
No, but it's true. We tell the truth on this podcast. We tell how we really feel. But I agree with you. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be watching tonight. I'll be watching this how this unfolds as it goes forward. But quickly as we wrap up, man, what would a championship run do for Haliburton, man? I know that that's something that we need to talk about. I mean, like you kind of touched on it. He was voted amongst his peers, which I think is weak. Anonymous people voting on you, saying that he's overrated. So far, he's proven that he's not overrated. He's very valuable, and he's the heartbeat of that team with the Pacers. And he don't necessarily have to score the ball to impact the game and get the Pacers some wins.
Yeah, no, like you said, I mean, it would be a tremendous thing to his legacy, to where his current standing is in the league. They would have to instantly, I think it's already been removed, but they would definitely instantly have to remove that most overrated player off of him. And, I just think that honestly, right now, we're seeing something is going to be added to somebody's legacy in this playoffs. I mean, whether it's
Yeah,
Halliburton and what this does for him, whether it does it for Brunson, and potentially people say whatever with Cat, whether it does it for Anthony Edwards, whether it does it for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, somebody is getting a big mark on their resume that's going to cause and propel them into talks that they haven't been going into this season, in this playoff run. So it's going to be very interesting, man. It's going to be very, very interesting.
what's interesting the most is that, like you mentioned, you hit the nail on the head and you walked us right into that last topic, but just a new era of NBA basketball. It's not the same players as, LeBron, KD sitting at home, the Kawhis of the world, they're sitting at home. Like it's the new guys, it's the Anthony Edwards, the Haliburtons, it's the Brunsons, it's the Cats. Like, isn't that we're really in a new era of the stars right now?
Yeah, it's honestly weird to see. It's kind of weird to experience right now because for the last 10, 15 years, when you think in conference finals, you're thinking of the names, the LeBrons, the Stephs, the KDs. Like these are the names that you're used to consistently
Mhm.
seeing there. And You look up this year, none of those guys are there. It's all the young guys, and it's not even kind of a mid-tier type range. These are guys that got uh, a while kind of left in the league. It's not even your guys that are in the mid age. So I think that it's just letting us know where the league is going. You saw a team, even though they got bounced in the first round, but in Houston, they had those young guys that are going to keep coming and developing, and they can make a trade or so. And you just kind of seeing, like you said, that changing of the guard, and it's almost like putting that little violin in the background for kind of those ones that operate on the nostalgia and all that, because
Yeah.
it's a new
It's
era,
oh
it's a new
we're in
day.
a new era. I mean, even with Giannis and Jokic not being in it, it's just kind of it's just weird. It's weird to see, but it's good to see and it's refreshing to see that the talent is continuing to go. So, but I think we did it again, bro. Man, we wrapping up here, man. Make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast, Opinionated Benchwarmers, wherever you like to listen to your podcast at, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube as well, Opinionated Benchwarmers. Subscribe to the thing, hit the bell, be notified when we drop that wonderful content. And then until next time, we are out of here.
Later.